Welcome to Followers of the Cross. This is your host, Jason Reynolds. Today's interview is with Cyndy Feasel. Her late husband, Grant, was an NFL player, a center for the Baltimore Colts and the Seattle Seahawks in the 80s and 90s. Grant suffered a number of concussions that built up and caused brain damage. That, in turn, led to alcoholism that destroyed their marriage. After his death in 2012, Grant was diagnosed with CTE, a degenerative brain disease. Cyndy has bravely shared the family's story in a book titled After the Cheering Stops. Her hope is to let more people know about the dangers of sports-related concussions. I'll let Cyndy tell you more.
Well, I met Grant on a blind date through one of my roommates in college at Abilene Christian University. That's where we went to school. And he was a Southern California boy and had come to Abilene Christian on a full scholarship. So I was just, a Texas girl going to a small Christian college. So we kind of came at it from two different angles.
Yeah.
I'd gone to some football games before, of course, but I knew Grant around. I'd seen him because, as I say, he was the tallest man I'd ever seen. I had a tall dad, but, 6'7". I didn't know anybody 6'7". And so he was tall and handsome, and so when my roommate suggested that we meet on a blind date, I was like, sure. So it was exciting to me. I'm a visual person, I'm an artist, and so I see and sense everything to the highest form. So I had I can still see his face, and I see the perspiration that was on his face. It was a hot day in West Texas when we met, and I opened the door and thought, oh my goodness, this man is beautiful. A California kid from the top to the bottom. I didn't know anybody that wore 501 button Levi's, and he did with flip-flops. Okay, I didn't know anybody that looked like that.
Yeah.
And he had blonde hair and a dark tan because he'd been working outside, and he was just a beautiful man. That's all I can say. And so I was thrilled. We had this great date. He talked about all sorts of things. Of course, we were Christians. We had that in common right off the bat.
Yeah.
And that was huge and important for both of us. And so, but just, hearing him talk, I just knew that he was a different kind of guy. I want to paint the picture for people that are listening and reading, to just see that he was not only beautiful on the outside, he had a beautiful mind. He loved music, and he loved art, and he loved poetry. I had never known another guy that just on the first date we got into those kind of things. I mean, he was special like that. I say one of a kind. So I came home that night and closed the door, and thought, oh my, he was just, I had never known anybody to just be all the things that I'd ever looked for. So he fit all the bills right at the front. And,
awesome.
Yeah. I just want to tell you, he was an awesome, awesome guy. So, our relationship progressed. We got engaged and married, and, we had tons of dreams together. We talked about having 4 children. We talked about the fact that he was going to be a dentist and I was going to be a teacher. And let me tell you this, too. He was not only just smart, he won every award there was to win at Abilene Christian University as far as academics and sports went. He was an academic All-American all 4 years of school. And that's quite an honor, really. And not only that, but he was, who's who in American students. He won the Trustees Award. He won every award there was to get. He won. And he was just brilliant and fabulous, and he was accepted into every dental school in the state of Texas. So that's the path that we thought we were going on, and then more scouts started looking at him, as the year progressed, the senior year, and he got drafted by the Baltimore Colts then. And I remember us just looking at each other and going, what? Because that's back in the days when people called the landline, to tell you you'd gotten drafted. So, we were just, we just were kids. We were kids. We were in our early 20s, we were just like, what? And he just said, you know what? I can go to medical school, dental school anytime I want to. Let's do this thing. I mean, when you think about it, 1% of the people in the world get a chance like this. who wouldn't take it, right?
Yeah.
So stepped through that door and went to Baltimore. And I just say those were the good years. You know, we traveled, met people, had an easy life. I mean, it was easy for me because I was not working and I was just enjoying everything. And it was just lovely. And he was working hard and getting banged up. And but, you know, I say those were the good years, so to speak, because, you know, it was a chance of a lifetime. So that's kind of how it all started.
Yeah, and back then I don't think you really heard as much about brain injuries in sports.
Can I just tell you that we never heard about it? Because
Yeah.
I want you to know that when we were in college, he had a concussion the last year because he went out for a series, and I said, what happened, you know, after the game? And he said, oh, I just got a concussion. And I remember saying, to me, that was a red flag because I'd had a sister who'd had a serious fall and had a skull fracture and concussion and spent a week in the hospital. So for me, when I heard the word concussion, I went, what? I said, isn't that serious? He said, well, they just gave me some smelling salts, you know, and I went back out and just, you know, covered it like that. And that was the end of that conversation. We never talked about the brain. He talked about another really serious concussion later in his NFL career. I mean, way later, like maybe towards the last 5 years of his career. And he was in Denver, went out at the Mile High Stadium, and he said, you know, he went out, and there again, no cell phones, nobody would text to find out anything. It wasn't until he got home that night around midnight. But I said, what happened? Why did you go out? And he said, well, I had a concussion. And he said, you know, it's so loud there, and everything went black, and the noise was excruciating. And he explained it to me in all of these brilliant words that I got a clear picture. He said, you know, my vision went down to tunnel vision. Everything went black, and the noise was excruciating. Again, he went back in and played, and we didn't ever talk about it again other than him saying that night he felt nauseated and his head hurt. So, you know, there wasn't any talk. I want everybody to understand that back when he played in the 80s, early 90s, there was no talk about concussion protocol.
Do you think that professional sports are doing better now, including the NFL?
Well, are you asking about all sports or just the NFL? How do you want to answer that? And do you want to encompass everything or just what I think about it?
From just whatever that you feel.
Well, I want to say that I'm trying to just wrap my mind around all of how big this picture is. I think it starts all the way from the young children who are playing at age 8 because Grant started playing so early. So I say, you know, I think they're talking about it more, and I think there's more awareness, but I don't think that parents and people that are cheering on NFL games get the picture that it's the repetitive hits to the head and then the concussions that compound it, that drive it home. You know, I mean, it's a huge, big thing. And I don't think everybody understands the visual that the brain is like Jell-O. I mean, I had no idea. I thought in my mind that since the brain was covered by your skull, that it was okay. You know, I never dreamed that the brain was made out of a soft substance like butter. So, you know, if I'd known that, all of Grant's, I mean, I would have begged him on bended knee to please not play because it would have freaked me out if I'd thought that the brain was being jiggled around every play of every game from the time he was 8 years old till he was 32.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think people get the visual. I don't think people understand it. I think they're getting it, but I don't think they have it yet. I don't think it's. I think the NFL knows it, and I think they know that there's a huge problem. But I want to say this loud and clear. I think it's all driven by money.
Well, yes, I would agree, and I cringe. Well, anyway, when I see some of the plays on TV, I like watching football, but it's a dangerous game. I mean,
It's a dangerous game, and it's like a gladiator game, and I think that, we forget that there's a human face, and I have a Facebook page, and I'm trying to just put articles on there every day that talk about the dangers of head injuries, and I'm just trying to make, even if it's like there's 2,000 people that are following me on Facebook now, I hope that it's 10,000 in a year. I just hope that slowly but surely I can climb along with a group of other people that are trying to get the word out that this is a dangerous sport, and we're cheering and clapping and giving people money that ends up killing our loved ones.
What is how can people find your Facebook page? Is it under your name?
It's under my name. It's Cyndy Feasel at Cyndy Feasel. It's an author page that Thomas Nelson actually made for me, and so I love it because they let me have control over it, and I get to drop in pictures of Grant and I so that people put a human face to who we were. And I say that our book was a tragic love story because, it's like the modern-day Romeo and Juliet. I loved him, he loved me, and our life, drifted apart.
Can you talk a little bit? And your book is so honest from where I was reading out the alcohol abuse and the damage that it caused.
Yes, addiction is a symptom to CTE, and again, when I was going through this and Grant was going through this, we didn't have any idea that we were in parallel worlds. I thought, and so did he, I think, that we were just fighting an addiction. It was a slow fade, as I say in the book. It didn't just happen overnight. Grant, at the end of his career, started drinking and hiding, which was an unusual thing. Again, a bright, brilliant mind that, as the years went on, started making irrational decisions to me. He had a really serious staph infection at the end of his career, like in the last 8 years of his career, and the doctor specifically said to me, if we don't get this under control, he's going to lose his leg. And he had to go in and surgically have that wound cleaned out a lot of times. He was in the hospital for weeks and ultimately ended up leaving the hospital with a port in his chest that dropped an antibiotic straight to the heart and bloodstream. Well, I thought that would surely mean retirement. And I just remember the look in his eye when he said, I'm not planning on retiring. So I look back on it now, and I think that's when a huge decision was made that was not realistic, that didn't seem like an intelligent decision for him. Because, again, he was going to be a doctor. He was a safe person. He knew that the dangers of things, and I think that it just shows that he had lost his reasoning ability. So that, to me, was a breakdown. And after that, shortly, he starts coming in with little tiny bags of pills that I didn't know what they were. They were unmarked. And, again, we were living pre-Google. Yeah. I'm a Google girl now, trust me. I would have Googled every single pill he brought in, but I didn't have anything to go on. I didn't have any coping skills. I had no clue that somebody would be giving him something to just make him continue to work. He would say he couldn't sleep at night. Again, sleeplessness, all of those things are signs of CTE that I had no clue. He would drink the alcohol and then he would go throw it in the dumpster outside, which was so odd to me. I mean, that's not normal. He it was constant. He could never turn off sports. He couldn't turn it off. He loved our family and he loved me, don't get me wrong. But, it was just a constant drive. He had an unrealistic constant drive. And the night he retired, he drank a bottle of Jack Daniels, and I remember thinking, okay, something, again, is not right. He gave me a little gift, and I talk about it in the book. It wasn't a little gift. It was a very expensive ring he gave me the night he retired, and I opened up the box, and I looked at it, and it was the same ring he'd given me a couple of years prior. And I had to think about it for a minute because I actually thought, did he go put that ring back in this box and re-give it to me? I didn't know if it was a joke or what, but I said to him, this is the same ring you gave me 2 years ago. And I'll never forget the look on his face when he said, most perplexed. Really? Those were not normal behaviors for me.